My name is Jim Coyne, and I'm interviewing candidates tonight for the Board of Selectmen and the town clerk for the election coming up on April 11th. And the polls are open from 10 to 8. And what I want you to do is make sure you know where you're going to vote, if you've moved or whatever, and they've changed voting locations. Just check with the town clerk or the register of voters. Manny, how are you?
I'm good. I want to thank you, Jim,
Okay.
doing this interview.
Well, I did it for you last year, right?
3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Use this time to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Manny Saws, and I'm running for the Board of Selectmen. As your selectman, I will commit to helping Westport move forward in a fiscally responsible way. I'm familiar with the community's pressing needs in education, public safety, and water quality. I support smart economic growth while maintaining our town's rural character.
And tell about yourself.
Okay. Oh, my wife, Michelle, is a lifelong resident of Westport, and Westport's where our family calls home. I've enjoyed a 40-year career in the remediation and redevelopment. I've been operating my own civil contracting company for the past 35 years on the South Coast. 3 years ago, I was elected to the town's 5-member planning board. In addition, I served on the Master Plan Review Committee, the Economic Development Task Force, the Tax Incentive Committee, and the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. If elected to selectman, I will continue my service on the planning board, improving coordination between town boards, department committees, and commissions. A vote for me is a positive future for our town. I will welcome your input. I will listen, communicate, and dedicate myself to maintaining and improving the town we call home. If anybody has any questions, you can please contact me at my email, msawswestport@gmail.com. I ask for your vote on April 11th.
Okay, during your 3-year term in office, if you are elected, what is the most important accomplishment that you want to achieve?
I believe, first off, I want to bring all the different boards together. I've been fortunate to work. I'll work on the planning board. We meet with all the different boards, and the town administrator was our planner. I've worked with Jimmy, and I'd like to get some coordination in the town so that everybody knows what's going on and how we can get things done. I said, as you're aware, we got a lot of things going on in town. We got water quality issues. Which is bringing us to, my main goal is to bring clean water to everybody in Westport that needs clean water. It's been a long time coming. We've had some issues for the last 30 years on Route 6. We now have a design plan 99.9% complete. This is a shovel-ready project that we're looking to go and chase some federal infrastructure money to get it built. I'm not looking to raise taxes to get this done. It's been something that's been studied for the last 30 years in the town of Westport, and the can's been kicked down the road. Now it comes to a point where we have major environmental issues. We get nitrogen removal systems that are being proposed up in this area. We got the DEP wanting a watershed permit because of the quality of the river. I want to work to prove to the DEP that we don't need a watershed permit. We've already done the things that we need to do. We've done the planning. We've implemented many programs to clean the river, and the river's one branch is not impaired, and I believe the other branch isn't impaired either. We still have more work to do, and this project that we have designed now will help us with those issues that we have. And
Are you aware of the state, I don't know what department it is, but in Dartmouth, in the Cape, and Westport, they want to upgrade people's septic systems, which is going to cost them $10,000-$20,000.
correct. That's the DEP, and it's kind of one size fits all. It's not gonna happen. It's a threat, and that has to do with what I was just talking about on the watershed permit.
Right.
So they want us to file a watershed permit, so, and this is to bring us into compliance, if our river is nitrogen impaired. So one of the other things is Title V in 1995 corrected a lot of those problems. Our Board of Health has implemented a nitrogen regulation that will correct some of the other issues that weren't corrected in Title V. Some of the cesspools that need to be updated. This is a site-specific system, and there's some hot spots that need to be addressed with these types of systems. We're already doing that. Stormwater is another major issue. And I believe most of the stormwater problem, it's not our residents' problem. We're dissected by Route 88, Route 6, and 177. The state has done one stormwater plan in my career. And like I said, I've been working in the watershed for 40 years. I've done numerous stormwater plans in the watershed over that time. The state has done one near Lincoln Park. We have issues where our residents are being blamed about nitrogen in the Bread and Cheese Brook. I own 1,500 feet of the Bread and Cheese Brook. The Bread and Cheese Brook floods Route 6 because an inadequate culvert on the Route 6 floods up, I don't know, 500 feet in each direction. None of the drainage on Route 6 has been worked on since the highway was built, and I believe that was in Roosevelt's time. I do know that they've been studying it. They have plans to redo their work, but one of the things with our work with the sewer and water on Route 6 is when you build a road, the first thing you put in is sewer. So Mass Highway has plans on rebuilding Route 6. We need to get our plans ready and start working on them so that we're not left behind.
Before I moved to Dartmouth in 2004, I was on the Route 6 study committee, and my office is on Route 6. And there were some conflicts with where I was and where they were, and Sanford Road and Route 6. Many accidents take place there. So
that they've done a traffic study there, a safety study. They have a lot of engineering complete, and they're moving forward. The people that I've talked on again, this is the industry that I've been in.
Yeah,
some of those,
sure.
the state engineers, I've spoken with them, and they do have plans to reconstruct Route 6.
Okay.
I've seen a preliminary plan where they were looking to reconstruct it from Seekonk to New Bedford. So that's what's coming down the road, and we've had the Serpent study. We've had, which is pretty much rubber stamped what was done 15 years ago. So that's another thing that seems to happen is, over the last 30 years, they've studied this numerous times by, Face Buff and Thorndike, who's now Stantec. I mean, very qualified engineers. And now we've contracted with Kleinfeld. We have the design, and we're in the permitting process, and we're getting ready to move forward on contracts to get that road built.
Okay. And the town owns the old high school. And do you have any thoughts on what should be done with it?
I do. The old high school, one thing is, I sitting on the planning board. One of the planning board members, Mark Schmidt's done the building studies. The building's been assessed. It's a solid structure. We recently put a new roof on it, which is the first thing if you're going to preserve a structure, to maintain its structural integrity, you put a new roof on it. We did that. I believe that high school is an asset that the town needs to keep. That's my feeling.
Okay.
But it's got to go out to town meeting or the voters on
Right.
what we really need to do with it. I mean, we have so many needs in town. One of the needs right now is the school administration still in the building.
I
We
know.
have nowhere for the school administration to be. We have a gymnasium there that our kids could use for recreation. We have a kitchen that our seniors could use for a senior center. I mean, there's so many things, so many uses that building is just an asset that I can't see at this point in Westport's future, where that property lays, where it's, because it's been said, oh, it's valued at, I don't know, say it was $11 million and we need the money. No, we need the asset more than I think we need the money. But again, it's going to be the voters' decision. I've been talking to different people, and I think it needs to be put on the ballot on what we do with that building.
Sounds good to me. I've had four children graduate from the Westport High School, and they're all doing well,
Yeah.
very well. Okay. Is there anything you would like to see changed in the way people are appointed to different boards, or would you allow the chairman of the boards to appoint the vacancies?
I think the way we do it now, the chairman makes the recommendation to the selectmen, and I think that's going to help with transparency. I think chairman, they know what the needs are of the boards.
Yeah.
They make the recommendation, and then hopefully the selectmen will let the whole town, if there's any problems there, it's at the selectmen's meeting, and I think that'll eliminate conflicts. I think that's the way they do it now, and I think it would be good. What we do need is we need some more volunteers to come forward for some of these boards that we don't have.
I know on some of the boards, a person being on that board could be on another board,
Correct.
And appointed.
Yeah.
And I know in 1984, I was at a cable meeting when they started the cable, and I walked out as chairman. John Hickey from the high school said, "What about Mr. Coyne?"
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that about the cable. I mean, when this, we got an advisory committee working on stuff with that right now in town. I'm not too involved in it, but I have heard some other things that are going on and some talk. I mean, in the shorelines, they've been talking about the cable for offshore wind coming up 88. With coastal resilience, we got, I know another member of the planning board, John Bullard's on the Buzzards Bay Coalition, and I think coming up 88, one thing that we got to make sure is if they're going to be bringing any of that stuff up 88, it needs to go underground. We don't need it overhead utilities. We've had some issues in towns with some of these solar companies coming in, and the one right down the street, they put those telephone poles popped up over there, and everybody said, "What's going on over here?" And then the solar company comes to the planning board, and that site was approved before I got on the planning board. And when I questioned them why that was overhead utilities, they said the utility company made them put overhead utilities. And I said, well, I don't think that's the case, and you get the handbook from the utility company, it's either or.
Yeah.
It's, you put it overhead because it's cheaper. And they said, well, it's not so noticeable in the, he named out a couple ones. There's one up on Old County Road, and I drive by and I say, yeah, it's not so noticeable because it's in the trees. The reason we have an underground electricity bylaw is because these trees blow down in hurricanes. So it's, we have problems with service out to, up past East Beach, and they're trying to, the resilience of the East Beach and that whole neighborhood over there. We need to make sure we stay on top of the state if they're gonna run anything up there, that we get the upgrades, we get, whatever's due Westport to run that line through Westport, we're compensated for it.
Do you remember they were going to try and put up a air turbine or a wind turbine at the town dump?
I wasn't involved when
Okay.
that was.
All right. Well, that didn't go. You want to tell the voters why they should elect you as a member of the Board of Selectmen? Take as much time as you need.
Well, I will continue to serve on the planning board. As I said before, improving coordination between the town boards, departments, and commissions. vote for me. A vote for me will be a positive for the town. I will welcome your input, and I will listen, I will communicate, and I will dedicate myself to maintaining and improving the town we call home.
Now, to back up a bit, what is your business?
I have a 40-year career in site remediation and redevelopment. Right out of college, I've worked in the Westport River watershed most of my career.
Wow.
Right out of college, one of the first projects, I was a geotech for Tibbetts Engineering, who today, that same company, S.W. Cole, was bought out by S.W. Cole, is one of the consultants that the planning board uses. I was a geotech for Tibbetts. One of the first sites that I went on was Resolve in Dartmouth, which is a Superfund site. That site is still up in our watershed with a treatment facility, cleaning the water that runs into the Westport River. Lake Nokichoke, if you look at our integrated water plan, for Westport, we stop at the Dartmouth border. Our watershed goes all the way up to Crapo Hill, which is the Dartmouth, New Bedford Refuge District. There's a lot of work that needs to be done up there. And like I said, I've been in that watershed that time, and I grew up in Somerset. I moved to Dartmouth in 1990. I built my first subdivision, and on the cul-de-sac there, I began to raise my family. 10 years ago, I moved to Westport. I've operated my business for the last 35 years out of Dartmouth.
All right.
And we primarily stood on the South Coast. We never went to Boston to do any work. Like I said, from the 90s, I never left the watershed. I started doing crane work in Somerset, where I grew up.
Yeah.
And then once I moved to Dartmouth, I stood in town. I never had to go anywhere for work. We never traveled to Boston or anything like that. We stood here. We stood on the South Coast. And there's a lot of good things on the South Coast, and that's why I'm living in the watershed in Westport now.
Okay, why don't you use this remaining time to tell the people, or the voters, why they should give Manny Soares a vote?
Well, pretty much on all the issues that I said, I got a handle on all the environmental concerns presently against the DEP, the watershed. I'm familiar with all those board members. The president of the watershed, I speak with them quite often. My feeling is one of our biggest problems that we need to move forward with is the stormwater. Like I said, and I believe most of it is with the state. But we have some small things that we need to fix as we move forward. Most certainly in the north end, pretty much in the south end, this nitrogen removal system solves most of the problems out that way. If we implement that correctly, we'll be in good shape moving into the future. The north end, we have poorer soils. We have the closer houses that the sewer and water. This sewer and water is going to be a 20-year plan.
Yeah, okay.
We're not going to get this done overnight. It might be 30 years. But what we need to do is, we've studied it for the last 30. I'm dedicated to help start getting this built, because, I'm really not a politician. I build things, and I like to see this built for our residents. And again, the biggest problem is clean water. That water main was put in Route 6 in the early 80s because of the contamination from Resolve. The DEP paid for it. We never did anything after that.
And it goes all the way up to the Housing Authority?
Yes, it makes the Housing Authority, and it dead ends. So at the Housing Authority, there's some people that I know up that way that, they bought houses next door, and they're, for their family, and so they come in and with this new nitrogen system, when they go forward, they have to design the nitrogen system, and they test the well. The well's above a certain level that the Board of Health claims is hazardous, and you can't drink from it, so they make you put a nitrogen system in. But nobody's doing anything about the well. And one in particular, the water main's dead-ended 500 feet away. Like, the thing we need to do is we need to get this water main extended to these residents. How many wells in the last 2 droughts that we've had
Yeah.
in the time that I've been on the planning board have dried up? I mean, and the problem with a drying up well is it means that they were drinking the groundwater. And nitrogen is not a problem in the groundwater unless you're drinking it. It's an essential element to life. And you're not gonna eradicate it out of the groundwater, but we can eradicate it out of the drinking water.
So you're going to continue on all these planning boards and
Yes.
whatnot?
That's my
Okay.
plan.
And I thank you, Manny Soers, for coming forward to have this interview so that the voters in Westport can know more about you. And nobody watches to my degree, and the planning board is on television, you know, and they meet, how often do you meet?
We meet twice a month.
Twice a month, okay. And I want to thank you for coming in.
I'd like to make one more comment on that.
Okay.
I think we have a phenomenal board. And like we said, we meet often, and we always, all the time, we have 5 members. I can only count on, in 3 years, I can count on one hand how many times we had a member missing. And we're usually voting unanimously. I mean, the work that the board's been doing, tremendous. We have all the staff that we need now, and we're ready. We can move these projects in town forward. Thank you, Jim. I
Thanks a lot,
appreciate your
Manny.
time.
And good luck on April 11th.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Steve.
Hey, James. How we doing?
Steve Willett. What I want you to do is identify yourself
Okay.
and tell people all about you,
All right.
and that's it.
Okay, sounds good. My name's Steve Willett. I'm running for another term as your selectman. Soon it'll be called the Select Board, but it hasn't quite become official yet. And the reason I'm running is because I like to get things done in the town. I've been doing it a number of years, and I see you got other questions that might be delving deeper into it, but, you know, I love to get things done. I like to see things moving forward, slowly, keeping our quality of life. But, you know, we're trying to catch up with the Joneses, if you will, and still maintaining our character. Almost all my family lives here. My daughter bought my mother's house. My mother still lives in town. My aunt lives in town. 2 out of 3 of my sisters live in town. So if I don't hear it from people on the street, I hear it from my family. So yeah, and my mother's everywhere, Council on Aging and all that good stuff. So in a nutshell, this is kind of like my evaluation. You know, if I want to stay running, people know what I did, and hopefully they'll keep me on so we can get things going. We got stuff going forward in the future.
Okay, besides the Board of Selectmen, are you on any other committees?
Yeah, I chair economic development. I chair the Route 6 task force. I'm on the bicycle and pedestrian committee. There's a number of other committees that aren't that active. I don't, you know, that we do as we need, like the TIF committee, safety committee, but I'm also a SERPID commissioner for town. I've been doing that for 20 years. That helps us get public safety done. That's my niche. I like to see public safety move forward, environmental issues, you know, it's stuff of that nature. But that's a few of the committees I'm on. Keep busy.
And during the 3-year term in office, what is the most important thing that you feel you can accomplish?
In the next term or what we just
Next
did?
term.
Next term, I think we're going to be going for infrastructure on Route 6. You know, that's another thing. It involves public safety. It involves people being able to walk on Route 6. The infrastructure getting upgraded, that hasn't been done in 100 years. So we're trying to get it going up Route 6 so we can get more business, get more tax base. But it's been a slow process. You know, we're trying to get everything done so it's more acceptable to the people, and hopefully we'll get that done where you could buy things in town. We're not looking to put big box stores in town. We're looking for mom and pop if we can. But it'd be nice, especially during COVID, if you could have just stayed right in town and got what you needed. So that's going to be the big one in the future. I think you have it on here too. Is the old high school's another big thing we've got to hit, but. You know, obviously, I'm not just focused just on infrastructure, but I think that will be one of the big things.
The Route 6 Study Committee, how old was that?
Well, we did it 20 years ago. We did Route 6, I shouldn't say 20, probably 15 years ago, we did Route 6. I don't
I was
remember-
on the committee.
I was gonna say, I couldn't remember if you were on that one or not.
When we moved to Dartmouth, I had it was on.
So we've got it straightened out and resurfaced, and they said you can't touch it for 7 years. So now the 7 years is up. You know, we find more and more stuff going into the river. Few more grants. Mike Roderick's got us, what was it, $1 million to help plan Route 6. It was brought forward once before, and it wasn't as palatable to the people of town because of the costs involved. It was a bigger project. Now we're looking to go up Route 6, do the main thoroughfare with stub outs, everybody, and keep going all the way to the length of Route 6.
Okay, now, recently, I heard that at the south end of Briggs Road, they wanted a turnaround down there?
At 177, you mean, or
Yeah.
a different one? Yeah, that came about after the death, a passing of a pretty prominent person in town's wife. The problem is, Jim, is you don't see as much major crashes there because it's a lot of townspeople that come out, but people going through from, say, Dartmouth to Tiverton or whatever.
Yeah, they speed.
They speed, they don't care, and people, you know, keep in mind, the reason why a roundabout would probably be the better thing is you got a trailer truck coming through. Everybody knows you got a loaded trailer truck, they're blowing off the red light. A roundabout, you don't have a choice. You've got to slow it down, back it down, and go around the turnaround and keep on moving on. You know, a light can be more dangerous than a roundabout in certain circumstances. So that's what we're trying to get done. That one is not as far advanced and ready to go as, it's not shovel ready at this point.
Okay. Town owns the old high school. Do you have any thoughts as to how something should be done with it? It's all within the hands of the selectmen
Yeah, I know.
or the town meeting.
Right. In a perfect world, I'd love to see the sports and arts use it, because I used to be on Arts Council.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talented people in town. It would be awesome if they could use that. Seniors are split on trying to get it. There's people dead set against it because they want to be in their own world.
Yeah.
Others want it because the kitchen's there and they could get stuff done. Love to see some combined housing, but not totally housing. Maybe have a portion of affordable housing in the back so we stay on top, so people can't just throw 40 Bs at us. So I'd love to see a combination of things there. Whether it sells or not, I don't know, because it would probably cost $30 million to move all our offices there. So it's still going to be hacked out. I shouldn't say hacked. It's got to be talked out. I want to have a forum on it. There are some meetings coming up. I believe March 28th is one, and then there's another one after the election. Definitely want public input. People, you know, every couple of years we're asking you for more money. So they need input on it. And, again, I'd love to see town use, but let's have some housing there. People want to stay in town, and like I've said before, you end up in the paper that you passed away in Somerset when you lived in Westport for 79 years because you were at assisting housing. And, once we have the infrastructure in place, this is on the north end, we hope to have some veteran housing and some assisted living. That is off the pace, so we'd have to be very limited on what we put there.
We talked earlier, some time ago, about the water on Route 6.
Yeah.
It stops at the Housing Authority.
Yes.
And is there a word to bring it down further?
The plan is to bring it all the way to the Dartmouth line, bring it all the way.
Okay.
Now keep in mind, we've had problems before with the water. You need the water circulating. So we need something at the end of it towards Forge Road that's gonna use some water. People saying at first, car washes recycle a lot of their water.
Yeah, true.
Now, we had a gentleman, Mr. Tripp, at our meeting that'd love to put a gym. Jim's gonna use some water with showers and whatnot, but we need something that utilizes water, keeps the water fresh, if you will, down the line, keeps it going. But no, it's already been planned out to go the whole stretch of Route 6 with water and sewer. Right now, we have 3 phases.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to see changed on the way people are appointed to different boards and committees?
Well, we worked on a few. We got the treasurer done. What else did we do? We got the treasurer, and I believe we got the accountant down. But we addressed a few. Highway surveyor. I believe all that's left, that's a major position, is probably town clerk. I would consider it. it is contested right now, so it's unfair to say things either way, but it's certainly something we could look at and strive to address.
Okay. I'm talking about the committee appointments.
Oh, when we put people on committees?
Right.
Would I change anything about it? I like the way it is now that you got to present to the public in an open meeting what you're doing. I see on the sheet you say something about the chairperson, as chairman. I would take that on an individual basis. Like if it's a minor committee, if you will, okay, we authorize the chair to appoint a person of their, whatever they feel is competent.
For a vacancy.
Yeah, because I'm not for the town manager type thing, like if we had the town administrator do it. I'm more, get it in front of the board, you've got different views, and it's open, where the public knows what's going on, not somebody just saying, okay, you're on, and the public doesn't know what's going on. But like I say, the minor committees, but there's important ones, like conservation and whatnot, that really should be vetted out, and the people know what's going on.
Now, you just mentioned something that was thought of here years ago, about getting a town manager
Yeah.
versus a town administrator.
I do not support it, mainly if you've seen what's gone on in the last few years. Some decisions can be wonky at best. So I personally like the board having input. I even, I brought it up once and then we ended up going to it after a while, but we have one person that signs the warrant now, that signs off for all the bills in town. We authorize one of the select persons to do that. So even that's, if there's something on there controversial, you'd have to really go out of your way and bring it to the people's attention. But at this point, I am not for a town manager. There's just too much one way or the other, especially right now, even in the whole country, Jim, we're so split right now that it's crazy, and I like to see as much to the public as possible. I've made mistakes in the past where we haven't vetted out stuff enough, and there was a headline on the paper which I didn't even think it was going to be that deep, but they twist it and they throw it out there, and you're like, even though I talked to people in the neighborhood, it's other people, which were a majority, didn't want to see stuff going on in their neighborhood.
There was, when Cumberland Farms built the gas station
Yeah.
on Davis Road,
Yep.
Gifford Road, State Road,
Yeah.
I remember prior to them doing that, some people said, oh, I don't want it there, and so forth. And then when it was done, I'd see them at the gas station, and they said, well, we don't want to go to Dartmouth or Fall
Yeah.
River for our gas, so
Yeah.
this is more convenient for us.
And it's open 24 hours.
And, yeah, and the police have an office there, too.
So for me to sign off on that, I brought up the lights. I think planning actually brought it to town meeting after, because, we didn't want it looking like the city lighting up the whole neighborhood. So the lights would dim down, and I'm the one that had them put the little island when you're coming from Davis Road, because trailers, I see it at other Cumberlands where somebody bringing in a trailer or something blocks the whole entrance. So if anybody likes or dislikes the little island that's at Cumberland's going to Davis Road, that was my doing, so people could be able to get in and out without blocking each other.
And it gets hit.
Oh, people, run it over and do all kinds of crazy things. But it does allow traffic to flow better. It's tough because you're pulling out of there and you're going to a light. You can only get out like 2 cars.
Yeah.
So,
I live near there, and I buy my gas there, and,
yeah. But I used to go there when it was sports town. I bought my first baseball glove there, and then it was a pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
People probably had no idea there used to be a pizza place there.
oh,
Must
yeah,
have been there a
well,
while.
I used to get the pizza and,
Yeah.
whatnot there, and,
So that plaza's had many uses over the years.
oh, absolutely. And I remember the sporting store, too.
Yeah, I'd lay away after my paper route, I'd go there and give him some money down on my glove. So, Mr. Jennings and Mr. Pavo.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Jennings, he was the coach of the Red Sox in the league.
yeah, I believe it was the Red Sox.
My son played for him.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's where we went to buy our equipment.
Yeah.
And
All right, is there anything else you want to add? Anything you want to say to the people to make sure they vote for you?
Oh, just I hope they realize that I'm working for them. Again, I'm trying to make safety improvements to the community, trying to get upgrades slowly to the community. Just think about if we had sewer extended down Route 6. We could extend the senior housing, get rid of that humongous pile that's there, and get some housing there. There are neighborhoods that people will tell me confidentially, hey, Steve, you know, I got problems with my well, but if I make it known, my value of the house is gone, boop. So there are people out there that definitely need help, and hopefully we can help them get things done in the near future with their vote. So if they can re-elect Willette, I'll keep on doing what I'm doing, and I'd appreciate the vote.
I know that many years ago, in 2011,
Okay.
I was elected to the Board of Selectmen
Yep.
to fill, Paul Schmidt's spot.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that they only met every 2 weeks
No, okay.
until I got on the board. And I found out I was appointed to
Bunch of committees.
a bunch of committees, and the committee I remember the most is I was a selectman representative to the Housing Authority.
Okay.
Not the Housing, the elderly
Oh, COA?
COA.
Okay, yeah.
And they had the meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they still do.
And I said to him, why don't we have these meetings at 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Because I'm a late sleeper.
Right.
And I forget which lady said, Mr. Coyne, by 8 o'clock, we've already been up a couple of hours.
Day's half over for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and there's some things we've changed over the years I've been on, too. The time of the selectmen's meeting used to be 7, changed it to 6. Used to vote in March, remember? Everybody be freezing, holding signs, and we moved that, to April. Moved town meeting a month, so there's no excuse with snow and cold. Other selectmen, we've even experimented on Saturdays. So we've tried a lot of different things to try to get people more involved in the government, so.
What do you think of, I know years ago it was brought up, we have 5 precincts in town,
Yep.
and they brought up the fact of we only need 1 precinct, and have the the fire station on Briggs Road be the center, or maybe down at the center town.
If we keep the old high school, it may work. I see what they have to do in other communities. You still have the 5 districts, but they're within the 1 district.
Yeah.
So you go in, everything's roped off. There's a police officer for every district.
Yeah.
There's a little warden. It's still the same thing, but 1 building. I like it in the fact that everything's there, because you've done campaigns before. You got people doing odd things outside, trying to sneak toward the door. Get the 1 spot done, but when it's a big election, like the presidential is probably going to be really big again, what a headache with people lined up down the street. Because where I work, it's 1 district like that. That's why I know so much about it.
Yeah.
It's more of the community, but I do not like the redistricting. People across from the high school have to vote at the fire station. So you could literally walk across the street
Yep.
and vote. You can't do that. And I brought that to the attention before, and we had to redistrict, blah, blah, blah. I think it's ridiculous. I'd like to do as much as we can to get people there. Unfortunately, it's not my job. I brought it up publicly. I don't remember if a paper grabbed it. I said, it's totally ridiculous. People can literally walk across the street, and they can't now. They got to jump in a car and go up to the fire station. So I'd like to at least see if you're within a circumference that you have priority of voting at the place you're in the neighborhood. So.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, we can go all night. What else do we want to talk about? No, I appreciate it, Jim. I really don't like, I'm much more of a worker than talking about all the accomplishments. I mean, we didn't even get into some of my favorite accomplishments. I will tell the public that one of the things I'm most proud of that people don't even realize is getting the cables on 195. Because cars were literally going across the highway, slamming into other cars.
Yeah.
Within the first week and let me stress, this wasn't just me. It was Serped helping. It was Mike Rodrigues. It was Paul Schmidt. We got the cables in the island. Within the first week, you know how cars are plastic now. There was already a front end caught in the cables that the car, and I think one of the paramedics put it in the paper that there's a good shot that person would have went head on into a car on the other side. It gives you a good feeling to know you get something done that's affecting the public. And I don't think anybody said my name, and I never claimed it was me. It's just nice getting it done. And, again, I just want to keep, most people in town know that I can get stuff done. They can talk to me. I don't really like anonymous letters, have the guts to call me, unless it's something that's really serious and there could be repercussion. I admire anybody that can say what they feel and put their name on it, and I'll address it. But let me keep on doing what I'm doing, folks, for the town.
Well, I appreciate you coming here today,
Thank you for doing it.
and what Valerie would want is how you want your name underneath the meeting here.
Can we put it in day glow with flashing? No? Okay.
I don't know if they can do that on the computer.
I don't think so without technology. Thanks, James, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you, good sir.
Don't call me sir.
Force of habit.
Okay, we have a list of questions here for you. And the first question is, I want you to identify yourself and tell me the reasons you're running for selectman and why you feel you're qualified.
Absolutely. So my name is Christopher Thrasher. I am a graduate from UMass Dartmouth. I'm in my last semester of law school at UMass Law. I'm running to bring a balanced approach to the Board of Selectmen. I am a political independent. I like to find the problem or the solutions to problems, regardless of ideology, and I think that's a really important thing to bring to the board. And I also just want to be a voice for the concerns of the town. I want people to be able to come to me with their concerns. As far as qualifications, you know, I have a background in public policy as well as nonprofit management. I'm no stranger to tight budgets, and that's what I want to bring that experience to the board.
Tight budgets.
Tight budgets indeed, when it comes to trying to find ways to make ends meet. I'm certainly no stranger to that. So.
Okay. During the 3-year term in office, if you're elected, what is the thing you want to accomplish the most?
Well, I think the most important thing is finding a way to make sure that the town's structural deficit is addressed and hopefully eliminated. And I think that there's some ways that we could find creative solutions to do that. I think that it's important to find sources of funding that might not necessarily come from tax revenues, such as more grants. I know that there are several departments in the town that utilize grant writing very successfully. I'd like to see some more of that. And I'd like to make sure that the solutions that are being used to address the problems are long-term solutions. We can't afford to kick the can down the road. It's about addressing the situation as it is now and making sure that we're looking at a solution that can take care of the problem 5, 10 years down the road, not just 1, 2, or 3.
So you are more of a financial person.
I certainly would say that I believe in fiscal responsibility, and to me, that does not mean just slashing a town budget. It's about
Okay.
finding the balance between providing the services we need and making sure that the tax burden on Westport families is low. So,
Okay. The town owns the high school. Do you have any thoughts on what they should do with that building?
I have thoughts certainly, but to me, the first step before we determine what to do with the old high school, we need an accurate picture of what we're talking about when it comes to the financials. So what I mean is not just the numbers of what it would take to renovate the high school, but we need to make sure we can do a cost-benefit analysis and compare that with the cost that the town is looking at incurring, whether it's the upkeep of other buildings, the senior center, the annex we're in right now, the town hall. These buildings, many of them need major upgrades, major repairs, not just the usual maintenance, but some other significant upgrades. And until I can see on paper what the bottom line numbers are for what the town could incur with the current buildings, until I could see that on paper matched up against what it would cost to renovate or retrofit the high school for the purposes of moving town offices in, I can't necessarily make a responsible decision. So the first step is getting accurate numbers, being able to compare them in order to make a decision.
And do you think the town meeting would have any say in this?
I do believe that the town meeting should have a say as it stands for, it's important to get the sentiment as to what people want to do. But I also think that just as it's not necessarily the best way forward to ask a Board of Selectmen to make a decision without numbers in front of them.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure if it's if people will be able to make a decision without having the numbers in front of them. So to me, that's step one. I certainly have some ideas. I think that there may be some opportunities to perhaps move some services there, perhaps keep the senior center, the day program at the current location, and moving some other programs. And maybe save some money on code upgrades, on any kind of renovation that might happen to the high school if you needed to do that. But again, step one, got to see the numbers to see what makes financial sense for the town.
Okay. Now, are you aware there are 5 voting precincts in town?
I am, yes,
And they're all spread out throughout the town.
yes.
There was years ago and some thought of using just one building for all 5 precincts and be separated within the building, you know? And that would be a fantastic thing to happen if you're on that side. You know, I haven't made any determination as an announcer and whatnot. I can't make that. But how do you feel about that?
So I think that there's certainly merit. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm kind of a numbers guy, so just looking
Yeah.
at the sheer costs involved of staffing 5 precincts versus a single precinct, obviously there's going to be some cost savings there. I think that we'd have to look very closely at, if you move all of these precincts into a single location, be it the high school, or, would moving that cause any segment of our population would it add a significant burden to being able for people to get out to vote? So I think, again, on the surface, there's certainly some savings to be had, but it's something that needs to be looked into to make sure we're not disadvantaging any particular population, any particular location within the town.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to see changed in the way people are appointed to different boards or committees?
I think that one thing, this might be a lofty goal for a 3-year term here. But one thing I think is important is to look at the amount of committees that exist and see what committees and what boards are being utilized, where, if there are any committees that may be a little superfluous or that aren't being able to do what they have been charged with doing. And I think there's a lot of vacancies, obviously, in several committees, and I would kind of like to spearhead a bit of a comprehensive review to see what committees maybe could be either merged, or I think that's step one. The other thing, as far as the appointments, to me, the first key is if people are willing to help in the business of the town, in order, helping the machine
Right.
run here. I would hope that there would not be pushback for getting somebody on a committee if they want to be on a committee. And so that is one thing I guess I'd like to see how it works in practice at the beginning of
Yeah.
a term, as opposed to midterm. I've certainly been following. But a lot of these committees, have had individuals on there for quite some time, so.
There's a couple of committees that I can recall. The same person is on several different committees, which is okay, because they bring in value to that committee. But should the chairman of the committees have a say in who is appointed to the committees? Or is that only in the hands of the selectmen?
Well, no, I do think that the chairs should have input. Now, as far as the actual structure of what this would look like in terms of a bylaw, I would have to really study to see, find out what the best practices are. And also, this is the kind of thing that's worth looking at other town bylaws in the state to see what works for them. The key component to me is making sure that if somebody wants to step up and take their free time to serve the town, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that they have an opportunity to do that. We need more people to step up, and to turn somebody away seems like not a good course of action. So,
There are many vacancies
indeed,
on these town boards,
indeed.
and they got to have a reason to come on board.
Absolutely.
Not just a personal reason, like not in my backyard, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've got to have a positive fact of joining.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Now, what I'm going to ask you, because it's not on this paper, what do you feel about the town boards having a selectman on these boards as an advisor?
I think the concept of an ex officio member of someone.
Yeah,
who's-
that's what I mean.
I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think it may be a case of committee by committee whether that should be a voting position or not, but as to have someone to give some guidance as to, maybe not necessarily participate in the decision making, but to have some guidance as to where the committee should go, what is the actual purview of the committee, that kind of thing. I do see a lot of merit in that. I think that it's important to use institutional knowledge wherever you can. And again, if that person happens to be on the select board or another resident in town, if they want to serve the town,
Yeah.
we should absolutely make it as easy as possible to do so.
I know when I was a selectman, I was on several committees. Never, I was the chairman of some committees and member, ex officio, as you might want to say. I don't think I ever had to vote. I don't think I was allowed to vote, in that case, whatever the committees it was. I can't remember, it was so many years ago.
No worries, no, that makes sense.
But, what I would like you to do now is tell the people why they should vote for you.
So as I said to begin with, I'm running to bring a balanced approach to the Board of Selectmen. I believe in fiscal responsibility, and as I said, I don't believe in just slashing and burning through a town budget. It's about finding the balance. And I think that a balanced approach could be well utilized on this board. I believe in transparency and accountability. I believe that as taxpayers, we should know exactly how our tax dollars are being used. We should know why decisions are being made, how they're being made, where and when they're being made. I'd like to see some improvements as far as just when it comes to posting of agendas, posting of what's happening in the town, in the business of the town. I would like to make it as easy as possible for an individual to find out what's going on in town hall, what affects them. I also believe in bringing a new perspective and some fresh ideas and some creative solutions. As I mentioned the grant writing before, and I think that there are plenty of instances where a little outside the box thinking can plug a lot of the funding gaps that we're experiencing right now. And that's a very important aspect that I'd like to bring to this board. As I've mentioned, I'm in my final semester at UMass Law. I'm a UMass Dartmouth graduate. This town is home to myself and my wonderful better half, Ariana. And this is where we want to raise our family. We want to make sure that this is a special place to live. It already is a special place to live. I want to make sure that stays a special place to live. And that's why I'm asking for the vote on April 11th. So,
And one other question that I have
yes, sir.
is something that, bothers me, tremendously. Well, no, it affects me tremendously. How do you feel about non-residents using the housing authority? It's owned by the state, and I was the director there, and it's owned by the state, and there is no requirement to live in Westport. There's a waiting list. And do you feel that should be just Westport people?
So when you say Westport people, you mean people that have lived
Citizens
in
of Westport.
have lived in Westport and are trying to
Right.
I could see some merit in having a residential preference. I'm not sure if that's going to be a state law situation or something that can be done locally. But, even in the town's personnel bylaws, obviously there are residency requirements for town employees and also preferences given to town residents for employment considerations. So I think it would be natural to at least consider that for the housing board. I do think that it could get a little tricky as to whether that's a municipal town issue or a state law issue, but that's a very interesting thing to look into. I must say I haven't yet, but I would love to.
Okay, is there anything else you want to add?
I sincerely appreciate the time, to speak with the town residents, and one thing that I mentioned was the accountability and transparency part. And it's not just that, but I want to hear from the individuals in town about what they think needs to be done in town, whether it's what needs to be done with the old high school or what needs to be done with the roads in your neighborhood. I want to hear from the town, and that goes for before Election Day and after. My door will always be open, my phone will always be on. If anybody wants to find out more about why I'm running, you can log on to thrasherforwestport.com or on Facebook. I'm on Facebook at Thrasher for Westport as well. And I, again, appreciate the time, and I would be honored to have your support on April 11th. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it very much.